Hola mis estudiantes y bienvenidos a capítulo 2, módulo 7a. Primero un repaso de la gramática útil 2, present indicative of regular AR verbs. Our materia nueva para este módulo es la gramática útil 3, adjective agreement. En español it's called la concordancia de adjetivos. We will also learn el vocabulario nuevo, las nacionalidades. Y la parte de cultura explora y expresa doble identidad, los latinos en EEUU y Canadá. So we'll take a look at the double identity of Latinos in the United States and Canada. Vamos al repaso, the present indicative tense of regular AR verbs. Let's see what you remember. First of all, what is a verb infinitive? What is a verb infinitive? I'll give you a little clue. This is a book that has lots of words in it. It's the form of the verb found in the dictionary. Another clue, what little word do all verb infinitives include in their translation? It's the form of the verb that contains to. What are the three different endings that infinitives will have? You can recognize them by these three endings, 2 letters each, AR, ER, and IR. And it's the form of the verb before something happens to it. What is that word? It is the form of the verb before conjugation takes place. So what is conjugation? Conjugation is changing the verb ending to match the subject and to express the desired tense. So those endings are going to match with yo, tú, él, ella, etc. and will designate whether you're talking about the past, present, future, or other verb tenses. So in this chapter and in the next 2 chapters, we will be working with the AR verbs. Why? Because they're the most common verbs in the Spanish language, and these are the ones we were introduced to in Capítulo 2, el vocabulario de las actividades. To form the indicative tense of a regular AR verb, first of all, you take the infinitive, for example, bailar. You chop off the ending, in this case it would be AR, it's an AR verb, and you are left with the stem or root. In this case, B-A-I-L. And then all you do is you add the appropriate ending to match the subject. So, do you remember what those endings are? What is the ending that goes with yo? O. With tú? As. Usted, él, ella? Ah, which ending goes with nosotros or nosotras? Amos. Vosotros, vosotras? Ais, that has an accent over the A. Ustedes, ellos, ellas. An. To talk about what you don't do, you just put no before that conjugated verb. Por ejemplo, yo no trabajo los domingos. And remember that subject pronouns are not always needed in Spanish. For the yo form, if you see bailo, you know it's talking about yo. If you see bailas, you know that's talking about tú. And sometimes they're used for stress or for emphasis. So notice how the same form in Spanish, we're going to look at the example once again of estudias, can be translated 4 different ways in English. Ejemplo número 1, to describe routine actions. Estudias mucho, you say to your friend. You study a lot. Can be used to say what you're doing now. Estudias matemáticas hoy. You are studying mathematics today. Now notice how it's changed to are studying, and it's still the same one word. Can be used to ask questions about present events. Estudias con Enrique todas las semanas. Do you study with Enrique every week? Now we have a do added in there. It didn't change. It's just still estudias, but now we're translating it with do. And finally, can be used to indicate plans in the immediate future. Estudias con Enrique el viernes, ¿no? You're going to study with Enrique on Friday, right? So it really depends on the context. And keep in mind these words. We repeated them a couple times. Am, is, are, do, does. They can be built into a translation, but you will see they are not in the Spanish sentence at all. It is simply estudias. But over there to the right, you see in some cases are is added to the translation, do is added to the translation, are going is added, etc. Un poco de práctica. First, make a double cross verb chart, one line down, two across. We're going to use the verb viajar for this práctica. What do you do first for your conjugation? What is the first action you take with that verb? Chop, chop. You chop off the infinitive ending, in this case it's an AR, and you're left with a stem or root, VIAJ. What do you do next? You look at something. What do you look at? You look at the subject. Knowing the subject is going to determine which ending you will use. And then finally, what's the final step? You add something. You add the ending. In this case, we're adding the present indicative, the present tense ending. So, ¿cómo se dice I travel? Yo viajo. You travel. Tú viajas. He, she, you formal travel. Él, ella, usted viaja. We travel. Nosotros or nosotras viajamos. You guys, you gals, you guys and gals travel. Vosotros, vosotras viajáis. And they or y'all travel. Ellos, ellas, ustedes viajan. A couple more details that we were talking about in our last lesson. Remember, as you learned in Chapter 1, you don't need to use the subject pronouns, yo, tú, él, ella, unless the meaning is not clear from the context of the sentence, or you wish to clarify, add emphasis, or make contrast. So you can see camino en el parque todos los días, but yo camino en el parque, pero Lidia camina en el gimnasio. You want to put a little more emphasis there. You may use certain conjugated present tense verbs with infinitives. In other words, you can put two verbs together, one right after the other. The first one is conjugated, the second is in the infinitive. And I always say the first one does the talking, the second one does the walking. The second verb just walks along in the infinitive. If you conjugate more than one verb, and they're one after the other, they need to be separated, either by and, y, but, pero, or o, or. Let's look at some examples. Necesitamos trabajar el viernes. Two verbs together. Necesitar is conjugated. Trabajar tags along in the infinitive. Los sábados trabajo, practico deportes y visito a amigos. Three verbs, they're all conjugated, so they have to be separated by something, by commas, a comma, and by and. In our last sentence, los domingos dejo de trabajar, bailo, canto o escucho música. So Sundays, I leave work behind. I stop working. I sing, comma, I dance rather, comma, I sing, or I listen to music. Notice that in this usage, Spanish infinitives are often translated into English as ing forms. I stop working, for example. A few more facts about working with these conjugated AR verbs. This is a review of a few slides ago. To say what you don't do, you just use no before the conjugated verb. No estudio los fines de semana, por ejemplo. And you simply add question marks to turn a present tense sentence into a yes or no question. It just changes by inflection. No estudias los fines de semana? Look above, it's a statement. No estudio los fines de semana. No estudias los fines de semana? ¿Tienes que estudiar este fin de semana? That's a question. Or you can look at your friend and you can say, Tú tienes que estudiar este fin de semana. Exactly the same without the question marks and inflection. And keep in mind, am, is, are, do, does, built right into that translation without the extra word in the Spanish sentence or question. We also worked on a couple new AR verbs other than our actividades at the beginning of capítulo 2. ¿Qué significa to turn off? ¿Cómo se dice to turn off en español? Apagar. To have just done something that uses an infinitive after. Acabar de. To look for. Remember I said look for the something, look for the something. Buscar. Look for the bus, look for the car. How about to eat dinner? Cenar. To buy. Comprar. To leave or to stop doing something, used once again with the tag-along infinitive afterwards. Dejar de. To rest. Descansar. To call. Llamar. And notice this is not to call oneself. Me llamo, te llama, se llama. That's reflexive action going back on the person. This is to call outward, someone else, something else, the dog. ¿Cómo se dice to arrive en español? Llegar. To need. And you can use it with an infinitive to say to need to do something. Necesitar. To be necessary. ¿Cómo se dice to pass by or to happen? Pasar. To prepare. Preparar. Both of those, by the way, these are some good cognates. Necesitar, pasar, preparar. Pretty easy to remember. They look very much like the English. ¿Cómo se dice to return? Regresar. To regress is to go back, right? And ¿cómo se dice to use? A nice cognate, very similar to the Spanish. Usar. English and Spanish, muy similar. Y finalmente, ¿cómo se dice to travel? Viajar. On the next screen, you'll see the Spanish scroll by. Try to call out the English before the Spanish disappears. All right, a quick review of these three different types of verbs that are used with infinitives afterwards. Acabar de, dejar de, and necesitar. Use acabar de plus an infinitive to state what someone has just done. Acabar is conjugated and the infinitive after de just tags along, not conjugated. Ejemplo, ¿acabas de comprar una computadora? Did you just buy a computer? Sí. Acabo de comprar una Mac. Yes, I just bought a Mac. Use dejar de plus an infinitive to talk about stopping an action. Dejar is conjugated, the infinitive tags along after de, not conjugated. Por ejemplo, dejas de estudiar en diciembre, ¿no? So you're stopping studying in December, right? Sí, dejo de estudiar y regreso a casa. Yes, I stop studying and I return home. Y finalmente, use necesitar plus an infinitive to talk about needing to do an action. Once again, necesitar is conjugated, and then the infinitive tags along in the unconjugated form. Por ejemplo, necesitas viajar en abril, ¿no? You need to travel in April, right? Sí, necesito viajar a España. Yes, I need to travel to Spain. Call out the English. To turn off. To have just done something. To look for. To eat dinner. To buy. To leave or stop doing something. To rest. To call. To arrive. To need to do something. To pass by or to happen. To prepare. to return, to use, to travel. Call out the Spanish, apagar, acabar de, buscar, cenar, comprar, dejar de, descansar, llamar, llegar, necesitar, pasar, preparar, regresar, usar, viajar. We learned a few more expressions to say that you do something on a certain day at a certain time of day. Por ejemplo, viernes por la noche, Friday during the night. Sábado por la mañana, Saturday during the morning. Sábado por la tarde, Saturday during the afternoon. Sábado por la noche, Saturday during the night. Domingo por la mañana, Sunday during the morning. Domingo por la tarde, Sunday during the afternoon. And just take a look at the modelo. If you want to say that you do something Sundays at a certain time, los domingos por la tarde. Por ejemplo, I rest Sunday afternoons. Yo descanso los domingos por la tarde. Remember that on isn't an actual literal translation. You don't need to say on. So let's do un poco de práctica. You're going to pretend that you're interviewing a partner. I'm going to be the one interviewing you, actually. So I'll ask the question. Mira el modelo. You will see a verb infinitive with some extra information. Por ejemplo, estudiar en la biblioteca. And I'm going to ask you, ¿estudias en la biblioteca? I'm going to put that in the to form, asking you the question, and you're going to answer if you do or if you don't. So take a look at the example. Let's say we have caminar mucho, and I ask you the question, ¿caminas mucho? Do you walk a lot? First answer, yes, I walk a lot. How would you say that? Sí, camino mucho. How would you say no? I don't walk a lot. It's a double negative here. You're going to use no 2 times. No, no camino mucho. The first no is answering the question, and the second one is making the statement, I don't walk a lot. So you're making the walk negative. That's the don't part. Let's try a couple more. ¿Tocas un instrumento musical? Maybe you said sí. Toco un instrumento musical. Maybe you said no, no toco un instrumento musical. ¿Visitas mucho a tu familia? Sí, visito mucho a mi familia. No, no visito mucho a mi familia. Pregunta 4. ¿Trabajas mucho? Sí, trabajo mucho. No, no trabajo mucho. Pregunta 5. ¿Cenas en la cafetería? Sí, ceno en la cafetería. No, no ceno en la cafetería. Y número 6. ¿Necesitas una computadora nueva? Sí, necesito una computadora nueva. No, no necesito una computadora nueva. Muy bien, el fin del repaso. And on we go to la materia nueva, la gramática útil número 3, la concordancia del adjetivo, adjective agreement. Describing yourself and others, adjective agreement. Let's look at lo básico and cómo formarlo. A descriptive adjective is a word that describes a noun. It answers the question, what is she like, he like, something like the book. like. To modify is to limit or qualify the meaning of another word. A descriptive adjective modifies a noun by specifying characteristics that apply to that noun. For example, un estudiante versus un estudiante inteligente. So now we have something that is modifying. It's limiting, qualifying estudiante. In Spanish, adjectives agree in gender, masculine or feminine, and in number, singular or plural, with the nouns they modify. Por ejemplo, una persona cómica. We have the indefinite article una, a, that goes with persona, feminine singular, and then the adjective cómica, again, feminine singular. Take a look at the next ejemplo, unos libros interesantes. We have a masculine plural noun, libros. It takes the masculine plural indefinite article some, unos, in front, and the adjective interesantes is plural following the noun, the plural noun, libros. So gender agreement, we have un chico, una chica. Let's say we wanted to say a tall boy, un chico alto. How would we say a tall girl, una chica alta? How about an intelligent, a smart boy, un chico inteligente? Does anything happen to una chica inteligente with chica? Nope, it ends in an E, so it stays the same. We learned that when we were talking about joven and grande, when we were talking about our descriptions at the very beginning of the chapters, we started to talk about adjectives. And what about a hardworking boy? Un chico trabajador. Remember what happens to trabajador if it's una chica? Trabajadora. And we're going to go over these rules in just a moment. So that's gender agreement, agreeing in masculine and feminine. What about number agreement? We have el chico, los chicos, and las chicas. So the tall boy, el chico alto. How about the tall boys, los chicos altos? Matches the whole way down the line, masculine, plural. And what about las chicas? Las chicas altas. Now we have feminine, plural. So we started up above with el chico inteligente. How would I say the smart boys? Los chicos inteligentes with an S. How about the smart girls? Las chicas inteligentes. Muy bien. So up above we saw a hardworking boy, el chico trabajador. What about the hardworking boys? How am I going to make trabajador plural? Los chicos trabajadores. Remember, we need an entire extra syllable at the end. We have to put ES because in Spanish, native speakers just cannot say trabajadores. They need an extra syllable like spaghetti. They'll start a word in English with an S with S instead of special, especial. What about the hardworking girls? Las chicas trabajadoras. So you take the feminine form that you see up above and you make a plural. What about a happy boy, el chico feliz? What's going to happen to make feliz plural? Think about your example with pencil, lápiz. Do you remember that rule? Los chicos felices y las chicas felices. That Z changes to a C, and then you add the extra syllable ending ES. So let's break down those rules. Gender. If an adjective is used to modify a masculine noun, the adjective must have a masculine ending. If it's used to modify a feminine noun, it must have a feminine ending. The masculine ending for adjectives ending in O is the O form. The feminine ending for adjectives ending in O is the A form, the A form. So we have simpático, un profesor simpático, una profesora simpática. Adjectives that end in E or most consonants don't change to reflect gender. They stay the same. Un profesor interesante, una profesora interesante. Exactly the same for masculine and feminine. Adjectives that end in OR add an A to the ending for the feminine form. So hardworking professor, un profesor trabajador. Hardworking profesora, una profesora trabajadora. Our next rule that we looked at, number. If an adjective is used to modify a plural noun or more than one noun, it must be used in its plural form as well. Let's take a look at these rules. To create the plural of an adjective ending in a vowel, you add S. Easy to do. El profesor simpático, los profesores simpáticos, las profesoras simpáticas. So you add the S to whatever form it is, simpático, simpática. Same, here we have the adjective ending in E. It's ending in a vowel, so you simply add the S. El profesor interesante, los profesores interesantes, las profesoras interesantes. To create the plural of an adjective ending in a consonant, you add ES. So our example was el profesor trabajador, los profesores trabajadores, las profesoras trabajadoras, because that adjective would have changed to trabajadora for profesora, and then you make it plural. And finally, to create the plural of an adjective ending in Z, you change the Z to C, and you add ES. So we saw feliz changes to felices, which is both masculine and feminine, plural, the same form. Un poco de práctica, ¿cómo se dice en español? 3 categories here. Letra A, the subjects, los sujetos de la frase. Letra B, las formas del verbo ser. Yo soy, tú eres, él, ella, usted es. Nosotros somos, vosotros sois, ellos, ellas, ustedes son. So as you take a look at the subject, make sure you pick the correct form of the verb ser. The last part of the sentence is going to be the correct form of the adjective. Notice in letra C, you have the adjectives in the masculine singular form, which is how you would find them in a dictionary. So it's up to you to understand the rules of the language and be able to change an adjective that you find into the form that you need. Feminine, plural, masculine or feminine, plural. So, ¿cómo se dice en español? My family and I are patient. My family and I are patient. Remember to do the matching, the agreement. Mi familia y yo somos pacientes. Remember that you use the nosotros form of the verb ser. Anytime you have and I, y yo, always nosotros, we. ¿Cómo se dice they are hardworking? And the they in this case is ellas, they, all feminine. Ellas son trabajadoras. So take a look at your adjective, trabajador. You need to make it feminine, trabajadora. And then you need to make a plural, trabajadoras. Next one, you are young, and you is a singular familiar, tú. Tú eres joven. Not too much to change around there with the adjective joven. Next, the boys are thin. The boys are thin. Los niños son delgados. So the first thing you need to think about is, what would I replace los niños with? What could I replace that with in my mind? I could replace it with they, ellos. That gives me the form of the verb son. Then take a look at the adjective. The adjective is delgado. The masculine form is fine, but I need to make it plural. Los niños son delgados. Next one, I am happy. I am happy. Yo soy feliz. Not too much to change there with feliz. Stays just like it is. Whether you're masculine or feminine, it will be feliz. Next, my friend is impulsive. My friend happens to be female. My friend is impulsive. Mi amiga es impulsiva. And the last one, Felipe is a redhead. Felipe is a masculine. He's a redhead. Felipe es pelirrojo. So I'd just like you to take a moment and repitan, por favor. Get some practice speaking. Repitan. Mi familia y yo somos pacientes. Ellas son trabajadoras. Tú eres joven. Los niños son delgados. Yo soy feliz. Mi amiga es impulsiva. Felipe es pelirrojo. Muy bien. Let's continue with some of these rules that are associated with adjectives. As with articles and subject pronouns, adjectives that apply to mixed groups of males and females use the masculine form. So for example, if we want to say they are tall and the they includes a few guys, a few gals, we would say ellos son altos, and we would use that masculine plural form. Most descriptive adjectives are used after the noun rather than before. So we have chico alto, niña baja, and we will learn some exceptions to that in another slide or so. If you want to use more than one adjective, you can use y, and, or o between them. Por ejemplo, repitan por favor. Let me hear you say this. El estudiante es simpático y trabajador. ¿Es el profesor alto o bajo? Repitan por favor. Mis amigos son activos, generosos y cómicos. Repitan, ¿son ellas extrovertidas o introvertidas? I want you to notice something there. Oftentimes, when a question is made, the subject goes after the verb. So take a look at the second question, or the first question actually. ¿Es el profesor alto o bajo? You could also say, el profesor es alto o bajo. But oftentimes, in making a question, they flip-flop the subject and the verb. Same with the second question. ¿Son ellas extrovertidas o introvertidas? You could also ask the question, ellas son extrovertidas o introvertidas? But it's a little more natural to flip them and to put the subject second. Now look what happens if and appears before a word that begins with the letter I, which is also the sound E in Spanish. And y, changes to A. Let's look at an ejemplo. Repitan. La instructora es divertida e interesante. The teacher is fun and interesting. So it's difficult to hear the sound interesante if you use the Y, which is the normal way to say and. So just for sound, the Y and is changed with A. Same with o, the word that means or in Espanol. If o appears before a word that begins with o, it changes to u, and that's for sound, so that it can be understood. Repitan, por favor. Hay 7 u 8 estudiantes buenos en la clase. Are there 7 or 8 good students in the class? And here's what we just mentioned a moment ago. Several adjectives in Spanish may be used before or after the noun they modify. Three common adjectives of this type are bueno, malo, and grande, good, bad, and big or large. When bueno and malo are used before a singular masculine noun, they have a special shortened form. Let's take a look. Repitan. Un estudiante bueno. Un estudiante bueno. A good student, masculine. But un buen estudiante. Un buen estudiante. So we have a student who's good or a good student can be used in front. Similarly, repitan por favor, una estudiante buena, but una buena estudiante, una buena estudiante. So it's only when bueno is in front of the masculine noun that it truncates, shortens to buen. Buena, in the feminine form, stays the same whether it's in front or behind the noun. Take a look at malo. Repitan, un día malo. Un día malo. But repitan, un mal día. Un mal día. Similarly, to buena, repitan, una semana mala. Una semana mala. Una mala semana. Una mala semana. So bueno and malo truncate in front of just the masculine singular nouns. Whenever grande is used before any singular masculine or feminine noun, its shortened form gran is used. Note that grande actually has different meanings when used before the noun. Before the noun, it means great or famous. After the noun, it means big or large. Let's take a look. Repitan. Un hotel grande. Un hotel grande. A big hotel. But, repitan, un gran hotel. Un gran hotel. A great or famous hotel. Repitan, una universidad grande. Una universidad grande. A large, big university. But, repitan, una gran universidad. Una gran universidad. And that would be a grand or famous university. I think we could use a little práctica with bueno, malo, and grande. So complete these sentences with the correct form of the adjectives bueno or buena, grande, malo, mala, or the plurals. Take a look at the complete both sentences for número uno to get the idea of the context. El señor Moncayo es un profesor. Cuando mis notas en los exámenes son, él me ayuda a estudiar mejor. So I think he's a pretty good guy helping when your notes aren't so good. So número uno, fill in the blank. El señor Moncayo es un buen or gran profesor. Remember, both of those truncate, they shorten. He's a good teacher. He is a grand teacher. When my grades on exams are malas, cuando mis notas en los exámenes son malas, when they're poor, he helps me to study better. Número dos, la señorita Robles es muy generosa, inteligente y también muy linda. Es una... What kind of mujer is she? Buena or gran. Remember, buena will not truncate or shorten in front of a feminine singular noun, but gran does, both masculine and feminine. Número tres. A muchas personas les gusta tener una casa something y un carro elegante, an elegant car. En mi opinión, las cosas materiales, material things, no son muy importantes. So what kind of a house do you think a lot of people like to have? Una casa grande. So a big house, not a grand or famous house. On we go to el vocabulario para las nacionalidades, nationalities. Adjectives of nationality follow slightly different rules. These adjectives add a or as feminine endings for nationalities whose names end in L, S, and N. So we're going to take a look at the nationalities in a few different groups. And remember that adjectives of nationality are always used after the noun. So repitan por favor. África, África. Ecuatoguineano, Ecuatoguineana. Egipcio, Egipcia. Marroquí, Marroquí. Nigeriano, Nigeriana. Sudafricano, Sudafricana. Repitan, Asia, Asia. Chino, China. Coreano, Coreana. Indio, India. Japonés, Japonesa. Vietnamita, Vietnamita. And notice the ita, like artista, doesn't change to ito for the masculine. Repitan, Australia, Australia. Australiano, Australiana. Repitan, Centroamérica y el Caribe. Costarricense, Costarricense. Cubano, Cubana. Dominicano, Dominicana. Guatemalteco, Guatemalteca. Hondureño, Hondureña. Nicaragüense, Nicaragüense. Now notice the umlaut on the U, the two dots in Nicaragüense. It is called a diaresis in Spanish. The diaresis is placed on the U in the syllables G-U-E and G-U-I to indicate that the U needs to be pronounced. So, repitan por favor, bilingüe, bilingüe. Pinguino, pinguino. And now look, when it's not there, guerra, guerra. Guillermo, Guillermo. So if it's there, you pronounce the U. Let's continue with our pronunciations of the nationalities. Panameño, Panameña. Puertorriqueño, Puertorriqueña. Salvadoreño, Salvadoreña. And remember that Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. Continuing, repitan, Europa, Europa. Alemán, alemana. Español, española. Francés, francesa. Inglés, inglesa. Italiano, italiana. Portugués, portuguesa. So Alemania is Germany and Inglaterra, England. Repitan, Norteamérica. Canadiense, canadiense. Estadounidense, estadounidense. So that's a United Statesian. We can also say that we're North American, norteamericano, norteamericana. Repitan, Oops, and let's make sure that we make note of this. Estados Unidos is often abbreviated as EEUU or AA dot UU dot in Spanish. Some native speakers do not use the article los with EEUU in Estados Unidos or en EEUU, either with the country written out or the shortened version. Continuing, repitan por favor. Sudamérica. Argentino, Argentina. Boliviano, Boliviana. Chileno, Chilena. Colombiano, Colombiana. Ecuatoriano, Ecuatoriana. Paraguayo, Paraguaya. Peruano, Peruana. Uruguayo, Uruguaya. Venezolano, Venezolana. So un poco de práctica, state the nationality of these people. So let's look at un ejemplo. Claudia es de México. Claudio is from Mexico. So how would I say, como se dice, he is Mexican? And I didn't bother to put the subject pronoun él in because we already know who we're talking about. Es mexicano. Número 2. Las instructoras son de París. Como se dicen? They are French. Careful because it's feminine plural. Son francesas. The feminine is francesa, the plural francesas. Olivia es de Puerto Rico. ¿Cuál es su nacionalidad? Es puertorriqueña. Hans es de Berlín. Es alemán. Él y yo somos de Buenos Aires, Argentina. ¿Cómo se dice? We are Argentinian. Somos argentinos. Adia y Habib son de África. We have one male, one female. How do you say they are African? Son africanos. Julia es de Canadá. ¿Cómo se dice? He is or she is in this case, Canadian. Es canadiense. Mi compañera de cuarto es de España. ¿Cómo se dice she's Spanish? Es española. Y finalmente, yo soy de Chicago. How do I say I am United Statesian? Soy estadounidense. Muy bien, un poco más práctica. And this has to do with your practice activity you'll be doing for your tarea. Las nacionalidades. You and I will act as partners here. And we'll take turn asking nationalities of people in these groups. And then we're going to mention that the other person, oh, really? They're the same nationality. So here's an example. The modelo, you're going to be given two names. You'll be given where they're from. In this case, Daniel Radcliffe is from England, Inglaterra. So the pregunta is, ¿de qué nacionalidad es? And then the name. So what nationality is that person's name? And you'll need to come up with, or I'll need to come up with the nationality. So you look at Inglaterra, you know that he's English. Es inglés, masculine, not inglesa. Daniel's a masculine. And then the response is de veras, really? And another name, you'll be given a second name actually in your practice. Emily Blunt, es inglesa también. So she's English too. Let's take a look at the first example. Penélope Cruz y Rafael Nadal from España. So I'm going to ask the question, ¿de qué nacionalidad es Penélope Cruz? And I want you to say she's Spanish. Es española. Oh, and I'm going to respond, ¿de veras? Rafael Nadal es español también, but of course I have to say Spanish in the masculine form. Let's go to ejemplo dos. Diego Luna, masculine, and Gael Garcia Bernal, also masculine. So I want you to ask me now, what nationality is Diego Luna? I hope you said, ¿de qué nacionalidad es Diego Luna? And I'm going to answer you, es mexicano. And I want you to say to me, really? Gael Garcia Bernal is Mexican too. And that's masculine. Muy bien, I hope you said, ¿de veras? Gael Garcia Bernal es mexicano también. Dos más. We have Gabriel Garcia Marquez, masculine, y Sofía Vergara, both from de Colombia. So I'm going to ask you now. ¿De qué nacionalidad es Gabriel Garcia Marquez? Tell me he's Colombian. Es colombiano. Ah, ¿de veras? Sofía Vergara es colombiana también. And the last one, Venus and Serena Williams from Los Estados Unidos. I'd like you to ask me, what nationality is Venus Williams? I hope you said, ¿de qué nacionalidad es Venus Williams? And I'm going to answer you, she's from the U.S. She's a United States citizen. Es estadounidense. And you say to me, really? Serena Williams is United States as well, United States citizen. De veras, Serena Williams es estadounidense también. Bravo. Muy bien, la parte final de Module 7A explora y exprésate doble identidad, los latinos en EEUU y Canadá. So pause right now el video y escribe apuntes. ¿Por qué? Porque hay un examenito al fin, some facts that you need to remember from la presentación or en el libro. La información general. At the end of esta sección, say which Hispanic group each statement describes. Número 1. Los Nuyorican son personas de este grupo. So you're going to learn about 5 different Spanish-speaking groups in the US and Canada. And which group do the Nuyorican represent? They viven en Nueva York. Número 2, este grupo en Estados Unidos adopta esta forma de arte como expresión cultural. So there's an art form that this group has adopted as an expression that makes them stand out here in the US. Número 3, los conflictos en los países de origen de este grupo produce una literatura revolucionaria. So conflicts in the countries of origin of this group produced a revolutionary literature. Be listening for that. 4. Chicano es otro nombre para una persona de este grupo. Which group has that name, Chicano? 5. Esta sección de Miami es el centro cultural de este grupo. So which group has a cultural center in a part of Miami? En número 6, la inmigración de este grupo a Estados Unidos ocurre principalmente en las décadas de los 80s y los 90s. So this group immigrated to the US mainly in the 80s and 90s. Vamos. Los 5 grupos de latinos de mayor número en Estados Unidos son los mexicanoamericanos o chicanos, los puertorriqueños, los cubanoamericanos, los dominicanos, y los salvadoreños. So we can also think of them as the Centroamericanos, Central Americans, salvadoreños, de El Salvador. Cada grupo tiene una historia larga y distinta. Each group has a history that's long and distinct. Larga is a false cognate, it means long. Sin embargo, however, Lo que tienen en común estos grupos es ser de dos culturas y hablar dos idiomas. So, however, that which they have in common, these groups, is to be of two cultures and to speak two languages. El censo de 2010 indica que hay más de 53 millones de latinos en Estados Unidos. More than 53 million, and that was in 2010. So our areas of interés that you want to make note of. So looking at los números, las poblaciones que son más grandes de hispanohablantes mexicanos, 34 millones de personas, puertorriqueños 5 millones, cubanos 2 millones, salvadoreños 1 millón, pues casi 2 millones, y dominicanos. So los cinco en cuanto a las poblaciones que son las más grandes. Take a look at numbers in Espanol, and you're going to notice that when expressing numbers with numerals, Spanish uses a period where English uses a comma. So to write 480,000, for example, you put a period where that comma would be. The reverse is also true. Spanish uses a comma instead of a period to express decimals. So 6.5 is expressed as 6,5. And here are 5 estados con las poblaciones más grandes de hispanohablantes. California, el estado con la mayoría, with the most. Bueno, let's talk first about los Mexicoamericanos o Chicanos. After the Mexican-American War in 1848, Mexico ceded California, Texas, and parts of New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, Colorado, Kansas, and Wyoming to the U.S. So these were states that belonged to Mexico until 1848. The majority of Mexicans in these areas elected to stay and were granted citizenship. The Chicano movement was born in the 1960s as Mexicoamericanos attempted to regain a sense of pride in their Mexican heritage and culture. The term Chicano was adopted by Americans of Mexican descent during the American Civil Rights Movement to distinguish themselves from Mexicans native to Mexico. There are many theories about its origin, none of which can be proven. The term was used by Mexican-American activists who wanted to claim a unique ethnic and political identity. So Chicano is another term for Mexicoamericanos. The integration of Mexican culture can be seen in vibrant areas such as the Riverwalk in San Antonio, Texas, the Pilsen and La Villita communities in Chicago, and the Mission District in San Francisco. Los grandes muralistas chicanos, Diego Rivera, José Orozco, y David Siqueiros, were grandes muralistas mexicanos que usaban sus murales para expresar su visión política y reclamar sus orígenes indígenas. El arte del mural como expresión cultural ha sido adoptado por los chicanos en EEUU. So these three artists, Diego Rivera, José Orozco, and David Siqueiros, were great, famous Mexican muralists. They painted big, huge murals that were used. They used their murals to express their political views and to reclaim their indigenous native roots. The art of a mural as a cultural expression has been adopted by the Mexican Americans in the United States. Moving on, los puertorriqueños. In 1898, after the Spanish-American War, Spain ceded Puerto Rico to the U.S. 9 years later, President Woodrow Wilson signed the Jones Act, which granted American citizenship to all Puerto Ricans. Many Puerto Ricans settled in New York City or in other parts of New York State, but younger Puerto Ricans have moved to Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and other states. El Museo del Barrio, La Marqueta, y el Desfile Puertorriqueño de Nueva York, the Puerto Rican Parade in New York, are all testimony to the bicultural life of the Nuyorican, also known as Nuyoriqueños, or Nueva Riqueños. Poetry slams. Miguel Algarín, profesor de Rutgers, empezó the Nuyorican Poets Café en su apartamento del East Village en 1973. Hoy día el café es una organización sin fines de lucro que se ha transformado en un foro para poesía, música, hip hop, video, artes visuales, comedia, teatro y teatro. Los Poetry Slams son eventos muy populares en el café. So Miguel Algarín, professor of Rutgers, he started the Poets Cafe, the Nuyorican, which is the New York Puerto Ricans, in his apartment in the East Village. These days, the cafe is a nonprofit agency that is transformed in a forum for poetry, music, hip-hop, video, visual arts, comedy, and theater. Poetry slams are events that are very popular in the cafe. Los Cubano-Americanos. All of Florida and Louisiana were provinces of Cuba prior to the Louisiana Purchase and the Adams-Onis Treaty of 1819. The largest community of Cuban Americans in the U.S. is in Miami-Dade County in Florida. La Pequeña Habana, Little Havana, in Miami is the cultural center of Cuban American life. Little Havana, La Pequeña Habana. La música. El Buena Vista Social Club era un club en La Habana donde se juntaban los músicos en los años 40. La ilustre historia musical de Cuba sigue en los Estados Unidos con los cantantes John Secada, Albita, Celia Cruz, Gloria Estefan y el saxofonista Paquito de Rivera, todos ganadores del premio Grammy. So the Buena Vista Social Club was a club in Havana, Cuba, capital of Cuba, where musicians in the 40s got together. The illustrious musical history of Cuba continues in the U.S. with singers like John Secada, Albita, Celia Cruz, and Gloria Estefan, and the saxophonist Paquito de Rivera. All are winners of the Grammys Awards. Y finalmente, los dominicanos y los centroamericanos. New York City has had Dominican population since the 1930s. They largely settled in Quisqueya Heights, an area of Washington Heights in Manhattan. Nowadays, Dominicans also reside in New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Miami. In the 1980s and 90s, Dominican immigration to the U.S. was at its height. In the 1980s, political conflicts in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua led to a big wave of immigration to the U.S. So this is where we get the Centroamericanos. These are all, of course, countries in Central America. Many Central Americans made their homes in cities like Los Angeles, Houston, Washington, D.C., New York, and Miami. Now, because of this, we had a big revolution, la literatura revolucionaria. El conflicto produce la literatura. La tarea del escritor es captar la verdad de la vida diaria. So conflict produces literature. The homework of the writer is to capture the truth of daily life. En países que pasan por una revolución, es urgente describir las condiciones del ser humano por escrito. In countries that go through a revolution, it's urgent to describe the conditions, the human being conditions, the conditions of the human being by writing or through writing. testimonio de la necesidad de escribir en tiempos de conflicto es la importante literatura centroamericana de escritores como Giocondo Belli, Rigoberta Menchú Tum, Claribel Alegría, Ernesto Cardenal, y Roque Dalton. So, testament of the necessity to write at times of conflict is testimony to that is the important literature that was produced in Central America by the writers that are noted there. So, en resumen, summary, ¿cuáles son los 5 grupos? Can you remember the 5 groups of hispanohablantes that are muy importantes en los Estados Unidos? Los mexicanos o chicanos, los puertorriqueños, los cubanoamericanos, los dominicanos y los centroamericanos. Let's see how well you pass this quiz now. Say which Hispanic group each statement describes. Los nuyoricanos son personas de este grupo que viven en Nueva York. ¿Cuál grupo? Puertorriqueños. Este grupo en Estados Unidos adopta esta forma de arte como expresión cultural. Mexicoamericanos o chicanos, the mural. Form of art was the mural that they have adopted in the U.S. 3. Los conflictos en los países de origen de este grupo produce una literatura revolucionaria. Los centroamericanos. 4. Chicano es otro nombre, another name para una persona de este grupo, of a person in this group. México-americanos. 5. Esta sección de Miami es el centro cultural de este grupo. So this is the group that has a cultural hub in Miami. Little Havana. La pequeña Habana. Cubano-americanos. Y finalmente, 6. La inmigración de este grupo a Estados Unidos ocurre principalmente en las décadas de los 80 y los 90. So which group came to the U.S. in the 80s and 90s? Los dominicanos. Muy bien, es el fin de Module 7A. Buen trabajo y hasta pronto.